Hello friends, in this video I am going to talk about my interview experience in Accenture. So the first question is how I got the opportunity. So basically I applied for the React.js position via LinkedIn in Accenture, and HR reached out to me and they scheduled the interview. So in Accenture I have faced only one interview, that is a technical round, and they have took around 2 hours in this interview, and then after that they not schedule any further rounds and they directly gave me the offer letter. So yeah, that's it. So the first question he basically asked, tell me about yourself and introduction part. Then this interview is bigger, so they have divided this interview into three parts. The first part is HTML, CSS and JavaScript. The second part is TypeScript, and the third part is React and Redux. Now if I will talk about the first part, that is HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So the first question he asked in HTML, like explain the HTML structure from top to bottom, uh, like we have like HTML tag, then head tag, body tag. So these types of things he asked me. Then he asked like what is semantic elements in HTML and give some example. Then he asked me what are multiple ways we define CSS in HTML page, like we have internal, external, inline CSS. So basically he asked this. Then he asked like what is async and defer in JavaScript, then what is box model in CSS, then what is the difference between the position relative and absolute. Then he asked me what are how flexbox is different than CSS grid. So we know that like flexbox we using for like one dimension, and like for CSS grid we are using for two dimensional, and more differences I told them. Then he told me like how we will remove underline from anchor tag and how we can do that. So we know that we have like text declaration property. By using that property we can remove the underline from the anchor tag as well. Then machine coding round in HTML CSS, he asked me few questions. So like from like the question is from border, and like some of the question from media query. Then he asked me the question from JavaScript. So the first question he asked me like JavaScript is asynchronous or synchronous or asynchronous, and how asynchronous works in JavaScript. Then he told me what is closure in JavaScript. Then he asked me like what is the basic difference between bind, call and apply, and told me to give some example. Then he asked me what is event delegation in JavaScript, then what is throttling and debouncing in JavaScript, then what is promises and what are ways we can handle the promises. Then he asked me like what is the third instance. So like if you know about try or catch, so here it written wrong, like it's not a dot there, it's a try catch, and we have the one finally also. So yeah, basically he asked me like then and catch what we have, so we know that we have a finally. Then he asked me like name some promise static method like promise.all, promise.all settle, promise.raise, promise.any. And then he asked me like what is the basic difference between the promise.all and all settle. Then he asked me like what is generator function in JavaScript and how we can stop the generator function in between. Then he asked me about the what is reflect API in JavaScript, what is proxy in JavaScript. So yeah, these are the question he asked. So and then other question he asked like what is the basic difference between var, let and const. Then he asked like he opened the online editor and asked me some machine coding round around the hoisting. So like some of the question on the type conversion, some of the question on binding, some of the question on like on calculate the sum of elements. So basically this, and few question based on array and its string. So yeah, basically these he asked me. Then he moved towards the second part of the round, that is like TypeScript. So in TypeScript he asked some basic question like what is the basic difference between the interface and type, and what is the difference between union and intersection, how we can define union and intersection in TypeScript. He asked me what is enum in TypeScript and what type of data type we can store in enums. He asked me like what is generic in TypeScript. So basically these are the question he asked me only in the TypeScript. And also one more question he asked me like are you aware of utility type in TypeScript, like we have na pick, omit, these types of things. He asked me like what are the utility type in TypeScript. Then we move towards the third part of the round, that is React.js. In React.js he asked me how React rendering works, like I need to explain how reactives work, what is virtual DOM, what is reconciliation, these types of things he asked me. Then he asked me what is life cycle method, and he told me to explain the life cycle method and how in which order they are executing. Then he asked like how state work in class based component, then how many times component re-render when multiple times we setting the state in one go. So in this question we already opened the online coordinator, so directly he gave me some situation like created a one state and then put it 3 4 this dot set statement and ask me like how many time the component will re-render. So I need to tell that, like it's a situation based question. Then like he also like he put it in he created one handle chain function, and in the handle chain function he put it async keyword in front of it, and like same thing he done, like he put it multiple this dot set statement set state statement multiple times and ask me like when we are using async keyword in front of the handle function, so what should be the behavior, like how many times the function will re-render. Then he asked me like question on state concept in functional component. So first he asked me state concept in class based component, then he moved towards the functional component and asked like how state is working in functional component. Then he gave the same like question on the same question whatever he asked in class based component with on the state, same question he created in the functional component and asked me like how. So basically he want to understand my understanding of state in class based component and the functional component, and how they are different in like how state is working differently in both the components. So yeah, basically he want to check this. Then he asked me like what is ref concept in functional component, and he uses ref, and then he put in multiple ref statement like ref dot current, and multiple time he set that ref and asked me how many time the component will re-render. So something like this. So yeah, see that these types of question he asked me. Then he asked me like explain all possible use case of use effect. So we know that like use effect we can work like with the clean method as well, and for as a component update method as well, and component did mount as well. So he asked me all the use cases how you can use effect in order to implement all the lifecycle methods. Then he asked me what happened when we omit the dependency array from use effect. So basically you know that it will re-render like use effect callback will rerun every time whenever the functional component will re-render. So something like that he asked. More question he asked in React.js like what is props. Then he asked me is there any way we can pass data from child to parent in React.js. Then is there any way we can access child component state in parent element. So this parent component, so I don't know this. So he told me that there are some hacks we will do in order to do these types of things. Then he asked like what is lazy loading in React, like asked can you tell props of suspense component. So I told fallback is the props of suspense component. And what is fragment in React.js. Then he asked what is error boundary component. Then he asked in error boundary what lifecycle method is required. Then he asked me how to prevent unnecessary render for any component in functional component. Then we come towards the Redux part. So in Redux he asked me what is the basic workflow of Redux. Then he asked how to connect component with store. So like basically he wanted to know like how we can connect a basic component with Redux store. So you know that in class component we are using connect method, and in functional component we are using hooks. Then what is the middleware in Redux, and give some example. So I told that Redux Thunk, Redux Saga. Then he asked me like what is the basic difference between the Redux Thunk and Redux Saga. So yeah, that's it in this guy video, and this is the end of this whole video. Like this is the end of the interview as well. So yeah, I hope this video helps. And after that Accenture directly released the offer letter, and they not took any round further. So yeah, that is the only question they have asked, and I hope this video helped you in some way. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and we will meet to the next video. Thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you. Bye.